Welcome to another edition of Coach Rodo's Winning Regardless podcast. This episode is going to be on having your degree, whether it's necessary to success in life or not. Um, that's kind of a tricky question because when you think about your degree, uh, you go to school to get a degree and hopefully you work in that field. But the reality of it is most of us that get a degree, we don't work in that field. Um, because as it was just brought to my attention, because perhaps you decide to get out of college and you go to try to work in that field, but you don't get the opportunity to learn that field the way that you were taught it in college, and so therefore it draws you away from it, and it sends you to wanting to do something, wanting to go work somewhere else. So you end up going to do work at another job, doing something that you had no idea about doing. You didn't get a degree in, so you feel like you may have wasted your degree, or you feel like you're not going to make the money that you need to make because of my era that I came up in. You couldn't get a good job without a degree. I mean, hell, you couldn't even work in a good factory, unless you had a degree. And what was the importance of the degree? Now when you look at it, other than giving these institutions money, them telling you that this is the only way that you can make money in life, and how many really do make more money in life because of a degree? I know what the statistics show, but most of the people that I know that are doing well, and they're regular everyday Joe guys like myself. I have a degree, but shit, I didn't get my degree till I was 40, but I was still making good money. I got buddies who don't have degrees right now, and they making good money. I mean, and then you look at the innovation of today's youth. How innovative they are. You look at your social media platforms. They making so much content. They're building so much content. They're making so much money off of content, off of being themselves, being a person, being a personality. That doesn't take a degree. We have to get away from telling our kids in order to be anything worthwhile, you need a degree. I mean, what's wrong with going to a trade school? What's wrong with becoming an electrician? Hell, I have a hard time finding a goddamn plumber. You know what I mean? And you can go to school for 3, 4 months, because that's what I try to do. I try to tell young kids who I know school ain't for them, but I know that the streets the streets is a fingertip away. I try to tell them, man, look, man, I don't give a damn about no promise, Coach Marshall. I don't want to go to no college. Man, I just been to school for 12 years. Okay, can you do 6 more months? You do 6 more months, you can become a welder, you can become an electrician, you can become a plumber, you can become a mechanic, you can become something that will pay you for the rest of your life, to where you don't have to worry about that fingertip in the streets touching you. That's where we need to start telling our kids, telling them that they're not going to be anything without a degree. It kind of keeps them torn, because now all of a sudden you're pretty much setting them up for failure. Because again, what if that kid don't want to go to school for 4 years, but he has a skill, he just don't know it yet. But you've already told him that he's not going to be nothing for not going to college. So guess what? I ain't going to go to college, so I'm not going to be shit. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we kind of add to that by telling our kids that college is very, very important. I fell into that trap. I used to tell my sons that, you know, they'll tell you I was along the shack, no degrees, no cheese. But I had to change it, because I had to realize that, like, my oldest son, you can't get that motherfucker to sit in no school, no class. That motherfucker flunked out first fucking semester. But I knew why. Because for the first time in his life, he had tasted freedom. And I remember when I was a kid, well, my grandmama used to tell us all the time, freedom is better than breathing. And once he got that freedom, he didn't care about nothing else. So right there, told me that at this age, he's like me. He can't sit in no motherfucking classroom all day and then go out and party and kick it and get up the next morning and then go to class again. No, he got to recover because he kicked it hard that night. Well, while you're recovering, your grades and all of that is going down. And again, like I said, it caught up to him. He flunked out, which wasn't a big deal. And I had, felt so bad about it, but why? Because I didn't need to. It was because I felt that he f- he failed and I failed as a parent, which is bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, how can I put him flunking out of school as my failure or as his failure when the motherfucker's only 19 years old? You know what I mean? Like what label of failure because you flunked out of school makes you a failure in life at 19 years old? No, motherfucker, we got to find your next niche. And that's what he did. Motherfucker found a niche in selling shoes, and he became real good at it. But one thing that he understood, but he wanted to come work for us. But I told him, you had to have a degree to where I had to reevaluate what my thought process was to change it to an associate's because I knew he could do that. I knew he'd go to school and get his associate because that's not, and that's not diminishing an associate's degree because if you listen to my podcast, maybe you probably don't have 5 or 6 friends with an associate's degree that's in your close circle. One of my cousins had to explain that to me when I didn't think an associate's degree was worth a damn. When he sat there and he said to me, motherfucker, we around 6 of us and only 2 of us got a degree, me and you. And I had to think about that. And I'm sitting around guys who I thought were pretty smart guys, but they just worked and didn't go to school, wasn't them. So he made me see the importance of, that associate because it showed a commitment. And, once I told my older son, okay, get your associates, you more than welcome. He knocked that shit out. He knocked that shit out quick. Because again, it wasn't a me pressing and telling him, you're not going to be shit without your degree because that's a lie. Everybody's not going to be a professional athlete where you could, skip school early, you leave school early, go there just to go play football, go there to play basketball, whatever you go there to get. That the numbers of that support itself, so get that out your head. But what you can do to be successful, I have a friend of mine at home in Lansing named Eric Crenshaw. Right now, what he does, I called him about 5 years ago. I was like, man, he's a welder. I said, man, you need to grab you a couple little kids, little black kids, take them with you to job, talk to the job. Hey, I want to show them what it's like to be a welder and this, that, and the third. Talked to him about 6 months ago. Shit, 2 of the kids that he took became welders. It was because they saw something in that they liked. I can go to school to do that because this is some hands-on shit. I get to use my hands. I can do this for 6 months. And then when I get out, you mean to tell me that I can go get a job making this amount of money? Because, you think about it, they're not coming out unless you tell them what their money dream is. They don't have a money dream. They have a dream to provide for themselves, to get for themselves, to be able to get a car, to be able to get a crib, not a house, a crib. A crib is an apartment or a house. They just want to be able to do that. And when we tell them that in order to attain those things is through a degree, we're setting a bad precedence because most people don't think of an associate as a degree. They don't think as an apprenticeship as a degree. I mean, an electrician apprenticeship, that's a fucking degree. A plumber's a plumber's apprenticeship, that's a degree. A welding apprenticeship, that's a degree. The skilled trades aptitude test is just as tough as getting a goddamn bachelor's degree. The only difference is it's hands-on, which most kids are. You have the ones that are, very, very book drawn. Those are the ones that's going to be you're going to college. But the ones that you can't reach, the ones that you don't think have the aptitude, I bet you them is the best ones with their hands at doodling, at putting something together, at engineering, because it's not called engineering to them. It's called fixing a problem to them. Engineering is a word. It's an educational word. But in regular everyday, it's called fixing a fucking problem. You know, we don't think of it as, well, I'm about to engineer this so that I could open up the refrigerator. No, I'm about to engineer this so I could put it in the TV so that, and put the foil on the top so that the TV get reception. No, motherfucker, you ain't thinking engineer. You thinking I'm fixing a problem. I think this hanger, if I put it back here, make the antenna a little longer, put some foil on there to get it, then no, okay, look at the station is a little bit better. You know, and you engineer some shit, but to us, we fix the problem. So we have to look at the way that we word things to the kids today, to the youngsters today, you know, and not guide them so much towards their own demise, so to speak. And when I say that, I mean, you know, if your goddamn kid, and I say GOT, not GOD, got. You know, if your goddamn kid is smart enough to do 4 years in school, but you also know if your kid can handle doing 6 months using his hands, learning something. I always say, one thing that I took pride in as a fucking parent was I knew my kids. If you come to me and you told me that either one of my sons, as their teacher, he told me, fuck you, he cussed me out, this, that, and the third. No, 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 no. See, we grew up in an era where your parents believed everything that a motherfucking teacher told them, whether it was true or not. And we all know teachers lied on us like a mug, you know, especially if you was from the hood. You couldn't tell me that about my kid. But if you told me my son was talking to his buddy next to him during the test, or, you know, I'm up on the board and he back there cracking jokes and this, that, and there. Oh, hell yeah. Because that's my boys. You know, I took pride in knowing my sons because I never wanted a teacher to be able to lie to me about them and have them feel a certain way about me because I didn't even let them tell me their side. So I always did that. So in saying that, we have to not push our kids to what we believe society says is best for them. We have to push our kids for what we know is best for them. I look at my son, my oldest son now, this motherfucker is crib, a house, not a crib, a house paid for. Got him a sweet car, got him a motorcycle. I mean, you know, bought him a trailer. I mean, go travels the country and just, you know, just does all kinds of things on a fucking associate's degree. Not a bachelor's, not a master's, not some shit that we told him that he needed to have in order to have the life that he has right now. We can't set the bar for them. They have to set their own bar. What we have to do is give them a bar to look at so they can choose where they want to set that motherfucker. I would like to thank you for taking the time to listen to me talk about degrees, the importance of them, the importance of trade school, the importance of knowing our kids and not setting them up to failure by having them do something that we believe that society wants us to tell them they need to be successful. Again, I would like to thank you for listening to Coach Rodo's Winning Regardless. You can find us on wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. You have a great day.